Terminator 2D No Fate might seem like a simple tribute to 90s classics, but anyone who's played it knows this game doesn't mess around. Between brutal bosses, chaotic levels, and traps that punish the slightest carelessness, making a mistake here can cost you dearly. So, to save you from some, or many, headaches, today I'm going to show you 10 common mistakes you simply cannot afford to make in this game. If you want to survive the pixelated apocalypse, pay attention, because some of these slip-ups are more treacherous than a T-800 right behind you. I'm Matthew, and the video starts right now. Man, if there's one thing I learned playing Terminator 2D No Fate, it's that this game does not forgive distraction. The first time I reached hard mode, I thought I was ready. I had memorized enemy patterns, mastered the jumps, optimized my weapons, but even so, the game shredded me in just a few minutes. That's when I realized my biggest mistake. I simply ignored the secret Skynet continues. These continues are the difference between a frustrating run and a complete journey. They are hidden in the most absurd places, behind breakable platforms, at the top of seemingly useless passages, or even inside areas filled with traps. The triangular Skynet symbol is your guide, but the game never explains this clearly. It's the kind of detail you only discover by talking to other players or exploring with patience. And the curious thing is how this completely changes your relationship with each level. When you start looking for these continues, the game's pace slows down. You don't just run to shoot and survive anymore. You start observing the scenery, noticing different textures, strange sounds, and you end up discovering that No Fate has much smarter level design than it seems at first glance. Now, leaving these continues behind is almost asking to die in Boss Rush. That mode is a trial by fire. Dying means starting all over from scratch. And without these hidden continues, you are basically playing against fate itself. A perfect thematic touch for a game called No Fate, by the way. So, if you plan to face hard mode or the boss rush, my advice is simple. Explore as if Skynet were watching you, because it is. These secret triangles are your life insurance, and ignoring them is the kind of mistake the machine never forgives. This mistake is a classic, and to be honest, I fell into this trap the first time I played too. The dogs appear suddenly, charging like enemies programmed by Skynet, and any player's natural reaction is to pull the trigger. It was only after I realized what I had done and saw the lost trophy notification that instant regret hit. The game actually plays with this. It puts you in a situation where the line between friend and foe gets blurred. Everything moves fast. Danger comes from all sides. And in the middle of this chaos, the dogs are a sort of moral test. You need to control the instinct to shoot everything that moves, which is hard in a game that rewards fast reflexes above all else. Losing the man's best friend trophy hurts, but the worst part is realizing that this can block certain clean routes, especially in missions where you're aiming for a perfect ending or complete collection. The game even penalizes you subtly. Fewer safe routes, more enemies, and a sense of guilt that feels intentional. And look, when a game manages to make you feel bad about a shot, it's a sign of good narrative design. After I understood the mechanic, I completely changed my playstyle. I started observing before acting, identifying sounds and positions before attacking. This turned No Fate into a much more tense experience, but also a more rewarding one. The dogs stopped being a reflex to be fought and became a reminder that not everything in that world is an enemy. So if you're playing No Fate and see a dog approaching, breathe, lower your weapon. They aren't there to actually attack you. They are there to test you. And if you manage to finish the game without hurting a single one, you can be proud. Even in the middle of the apocalypse, you kept a bit of humanity alive. This part traumatized me a bit, to be honest. The first time I reached Escape from Hospital, I thought it was going to be just another run and gun level, like the rest of the game. But no, the game completely switches the pace. Suddenly, you are unarmed, surrounded by cameras and guards, and any mistake summons the T-1000. I remember well the first time I was detected, and I swear I've never run so fast in a 2D level in my life. The problem is that the game is unforgiving. Even if you just miss an attack or move a second before the camera turns, the alarm goes off and then it's total chaos. The T-1000 appears almost instantly, relentless, and there is no weapon or continue that can save you if you slip up. It's that typical situation where the player needs to master patience, and man, the game knows how to test your nerves. After I learned to play this part right, I realized the secret is to think like a shadow. Attack only from behind, wait for the exact moment, and don't rush. The game forces you to use your head. Observe the camera patterns, understand the patrol rhythms, and even use the sound of footsteps to your advantage. It's tense, but when you master it, the feeling of control is incredible. And I love how this change of pace reinforces the game's theme. Up until then, you're fighting the machines head on, feeling like an invincible hero, and suddenly, you have to become the hunted, hiding to survive. Escape from Hospital isn't just a stealth level, it's a reminder that in this world dominated by Skynet, brute force isn't enough. So, if you haven't passed this part yet, my advice is simple. Take a deep breath, observe, and wait. Don't try to play Rambo, because the game will punish you without mercy. And nothing is more satisfying than escaping from there unseen, leaving the T-1000 searching the void while you disappear into the darkness. This is one of those secrets we only discover after suffering. I spent hours getting beaten up before knowing there was a hidden cheat menu in the game. I got stuck on absurdly difficult levels with low HP, dying at the same spot over and over. When I finally found out that you just had to go to Options, Accessibility, CRT Shader, and hold the directional buttons until you heard the secret sound, I simply couldn't believe it. It was like finding a secret passage in the game's interface itself. And the best, or worst part, is that these cheats don't disable trophies. That means you can practice, test strategies, train for boss fights, and still keep your progress intact. The game kind of gives you a free pass, but hides it so well that it feels like a gift only for those who really dedicate themselves. And honestly, I think that's genius. It's almost as if Skynet wanted to see who is smart enough to hack its own system. When I discovered the menu, I used it first to train for boss rush mode, which seemed impossible to me. I activated infinite lives, tested attack timing, learned every boss's pattern. And the interesting thing is that even with all these tricks, I still felt challenged. No Fate is the type of game where mastering the mechanics is worth more than simply winning. After a while, I turned off the cheats and went back to normal mode. And I can say it was liberating, as if I had evolved through failure. This idea of practicing without punishment is the perfect balance between fun and learning, and the game hits the mark by hiding this behind a layer of curiosity. It's the kind of secret that rewards the curious player, not just with power, but with an understanding of the game itself. So, if you're still sweating to get past that level, or facing the T-1000 with rage in your heart, do this. Go to the options and mess with that CRT shader. Hold the buttons, listen for the sound, and smile. You've just discovered one of the fairest and best placed secrets in Terminator 2D No Fate. Ah, the blessed score multiplier. This is the kind of detail that separates those who just play from those who actually dominate the game. It took me a while to give this its due value. In the beginning, I just wanted to survive. Killing enemies and reaching the end of the level seemed like enough. But when I started chasing S ranks, I realized that just beating the game isn't enough. You need to be efficient. And that's when the multiplier becomes everything. The system is simple on paper. The more enemies you defeat in sequence without taking damage, the more the multiplier grows. But in practice, keeping that up for long is a nightmare. Any shot that hits you, any touch from an enemy, and there goes the times 10 you fought to maintain. It's the kind of detail that forces you to play with rhythm, precision, and cold blood. The frustration comes when you're at your peak, everything flowing, killing with style, and suddenly a stray projectile ends it all. The score plummets, the S rank slips through your fingers, and the game makes a point of reminding you of that on the results screen. I think everyone who chases high rankings in this game knows that feeling of silent rage. Over time, I learned to treat the multiplier like a dance. You need to get into the right flow, know when to attack and when to retreat. Sometimes it's worth staying a few seconds without killing anyone rather than losing the rhythm due to haste. And when you finish a level without ever breaking the combo, it's almost a feeling of revenge, like you defeated Skynet's own system with pure discipline. So if you want to truly dominate No Fate, don't just worry about killing fast, play clean. Train your reflexes, memorize patterns, and stay calm. Because the multiplier isn't just about score, it's about control. And in a game where the theme is resisting fate, keeping the combo alive is almost a manifesto against the inevitability of defeat itself. This mistake got me good in the first few hours. I was going at that frenetic pace, jumping between platforms, running from Skynet drones as if I were in a speed run, until, suddenly, the character simply plummeted into the abyss because the ledge grab didn't trigger. The frustration is instant. You feel like the game betrayed you, but then you realize it was all your fault. The thing is, No Fate has very precise physics in these moments. To grab the ledge, you need to stop, align the character exactly at the right spot, and not run straight at it. If you try to force the movement with momentum, the character goes past the ledge as if it didn't even exist. It seems like a simple detail, but in levels full of traps and lethal drops, this small error repeats itself until it becomes a nightmare. After I understood this, I started respecting the game's pace. Not everything in No Fate is about speed. Sometimes it's about control. Learning to stop before acting, measuring the jump, holding the movement. This completely changes how you tackle platforming sections. The game practically teaches you to have patience in the middle of chaos, which fits perfectly with the tense atmosphere of the war against the machines. And the curious thing is that this small adjustment in the ledge grab ends up improving your overall performance. When you start mastering the timing, you realize you die less, miss fewer jumps, and even face enemies more safely. It's that type of skill that, when internalized, makes you look much cleaner while playing, and the game rewards that. So if you're tired of falling into holes and thinking the game is unfair, try taking a step back, literally. Align the character, breathe, and only then jump. In Terminator 2D No Fate, grabbing a ledge at the right moment can be the difference between dying as a common human or surviving as someone truly ready to face Skynet. The truck chase. This level is, without a doubt, one of the most intense in the game. The first time I got there, I thought it would be just another straightforward action sequence. Shoot, dodge, and move forward. But the game turns this moment into total chaos. Explosions coming from all sides, drones flying overhead, and a giant truck trying to crush you while everything happens in motion. It's a visual spectacle, but also a cruel trap for anyone who thinks they can wing it. I remember how many times I failed there. The level requires millimeter precision timing. Missing a shot or jumping half a second too late is enough to lose a continue. And the worst part is that because it's a fast sequence, you feel compelled to try again immediately. This creates a cycle of frustration that makes you play worse, as if Skynet were really toying with your patience. The secret, which I only learned after a lot of suffering, is to understand the rhythm of the chase. You need to memorize the attack patterns, know when to shoot and when to just defend, and most importantly, don't panic. Every movement of the truck and every enemy has a purpose. Nothing is there by chance. When you realize this, the level changes completely. It stops being chaos and becomes a choreography of pure precision. And what's most interesting is that the truck chase teaches you, in a practical way, to master control under pressure. After surviving this sequence, any other part of the game seems tranquil. It's almost as if the game is saying, if you manage to get through this, you can face anything Skynet throws at you. So if you're stuck on this part, take a deep breath and accept the challenge for what it is. Practice until you understand every detail of that truck. Because when you finally win and see the chase end without losing a continue, the feeling isn't just victory, it's redemption. And in that moment, you really feel that nothing will stop you. Man, if there's one thing I learned playing Terminator 2D No Fate, it's that this game does not forgive distraction. The first time I reached hard mode, I thought I was ready. I had memorized enemy patterns, mastered the jumps, optimized my weapons, but even so, the game shredded me in just a few minutes. That's when I realized my biggest mistake. I simply ignored the secret Skynet continues. These continues are the difference between a frustrating run and a complete journey. They are hidden in the most absurd places, behind breakable platforms, at the top of seemingly useless passages, or even inside areas filled with traps. The triangular Skynet symbol is your guide, but the game never explains this clearly. It's the kind of detail you only discover by talking to other players or exploring with patience. And the curious thing is how this completely changes your relationship with each level. When you start looking for these continues, the game's pace slows down. You don't just run to shoot and survive anymore. You start observing the scenery, noticing different textures, strange sounds, and you end up discovering that No Fate has much smarter level design than it seems at first glance. Now, leaving these continues behind is almost asking to die in Boss Rush. That mode is a trial by fire. Dying means starting all over from scratch. And without these hidden continues, you are basically playing against fate itself. A perfect thematic touch for a game called No Fate, by the way. So if you plan to face hard mode or the boss rush, my advice is simple. Explore as if Skynet were watching you, because it is. These secret triangles are your life insurance, and ignoring them is the kind of mistake the machine never forgives. This is, without a doubt, one of the most painful mistakes I made. The first time I faced the T-1000, my instinct was to attack directly, as if it were any other boss. I ran up to him, tried to machine gun him from close range, and in seconds, he tore me apart. There is nothing more humiliating than watching that metallic monster regenerate and keep coming after you relentlessly, while you realize you made the most basic mistake possible, getting too close. The T-1000 is designed to punish you for being impulsive. He is fast, ruthless, and reacts almost instantly to any careless movement. And the worst part is the feeling of constant pursuit. He doesn't just hit you, he hunts you. The music changes, the sound of metallic footsteps echoes, and all you can think about is running. The game translates the character's terror in an incredible but cruel way. After a few defeats, many to be honest, I realized the secret was the opposite of direct confrontation: distance and calm. Using the environment to your advantage, hiding behind doors, trapping him in cells, and waiting for the right moment to blow up a barrel near him. When I started playing strategically, I realized that No Fate rewards patience and observation, not brute force. These levels, especially the hospital and the steel mill, transform into a real game of cat and mouse. You feel the same fear as the protagonist, running, hiding, planning the next move. And when you finally hit a well-placed explosive barrel, see the T-1000 temporarily fall apart, and gain a few seconds of respite, it's a victory that feels personal. So, if you want to survive this mechanical nightmare, forget the idea of brawling. Keep your distance, use the scenery, and think before you act. Because the T-1000 isn't just an enemy, he is a reminder that, in Terminator 2D, No Fate, haste is literally deadly. This is a mistake I made right in my first few hours. I picked a character and stuck with them until the end, thinking it all came down to playstyle. But no, No Fate goes way beyond that. Each character completely changes the experience, the pacing, and even the tone of the story. When I went back and played with Sarah, John, and the T-800, I realized I had played the same game, but lived 3 different versions of that post-apocalyptic world. Sarah is direct and brutal. She is for those who like to advance in a no time for talk style. Fast melee strikes, a life-saving slide, and impressive resistance. Playing with her is feeling the weight of survival. Every action seems driven by desperation and strength. John is the opposite. Stealth is the name of the game. He demands precision, calm, and reading the environment. And when you master his rhythm, it's almost poetic to see how the kid manages to overcome the impossible with just intelligence and agility. But the T-800, that is a whole other game. Controlling him completely shifts the tone. Suddenly, you aren't the prey, you are the hunter. Pure tank, explosions, shots firing everywhere, and that feeling of raw power. But if you try to play the T-800 like Sarah or John, the game punishes you. The routes change, enemies react differently, and in certain cases, you miss shortcuts or secrets by not using the right character at the right time. After I understood this, I started playing No Fate the way it was meant to be played, across multiple runs. Each route opens up new endings, hidden areas, and even variations in the T-1000's behavior. Skynet seems to watch you, adapting the challenge according to the character. It's a design detail that shows how much care the creators put into every choice. So, if you played just once and put the controller away thinking you saw everything, believe me, you haven't seen even half of it. No Fate was made to be explored through different eyes: the warriors, the boys, and the machines. And when you put the pieces of these three perspectives together, you truly understand what the name No Fate means.